Fighting is kind of crazy because as chaotic and scary as it is, once you get a little bit better understanding of it, you notice that things tend to follow patterns and there are certain rules and best practices. And 99 out of 100 fights will go kind of the same couple of ways. It gets real easy to start using terms like always and never. But then once you start watching a few more fights or maybe studying a little harder, maybe training a little harder yourself, and your understanding expands, and you realize like anything can happen. And just like the trap of always and never, people can get caught in a new trap where they see this crazy thing happen and then they think that that's a real thing. Take, for example, being in bottom mount and swinging punches at your opponent in order to defend that mount. That's crazy and you should never do that, and that would never work, right? But what if it does? We're gonna be watching some Street Beefs fights with this guy called the Lamb, and the Lamb doesn't do anything the right way, but he's winning fights by doing stuff the wrong way. I'm gonna break it down because it's kind of crazy to see and it's pretty interesting, but also we're gonna discuss like, is that a thing? Like, is that a thing that you should account for and practice for and plan on? I like watching Street Beefs. As a martial artist, I think it's important to watch stuff like this. Just like I advise aspiring mixed martial artists to watch the prelims on UFC, because what those guys are doing are what mostly applies to you. If you're a martial artist and you care mostly about self-defense, obviously you can watch lots of real-world encounters, but watching this, hold on a second, I love to listen to these. Watching these sort of gives you an idea of like how regular people fight. Now there's more and more trained people on here, but we're gonna see a lot of just what regular dudes look like. Let's hear what Warhorse has to say, because he looks pretty tough.
Warhorse from Franklin, West Virginia, and we're just gonna see how this fight goes.
He said, I'm just gonna see how this fight goes. That's not quite as bad as I'm just here to have some fun. But he doesn't sound very confident. But this is our guy, the Lamb.
How I think it's gonna go. I'm just trying to test my style real tight. I don't even have an idea for it.
I'm just trying to test my style. I don't even have an idea. And now Scarface is doing his thing. He's promoting his stuff. This guy stays in the sponsors, man. I need to figure that thing out. This video, by the way, is brought to you by absolutely nobody. I just think it's fun to watch Street Beefs fights.
0-0 in Satan's backyard. In this corner,
War Pony is 0-0.
he's also 0-0.
The Lamb is 0-0. Both these guys making their Street Beefs debut. He's in his combat long johns. The glove touch. Now Lamb's stance, that's not a stance, and he just ate a head kick for it. War God is on a single leg, and the Lamb jumps over for like a Hurricane Rana. So the Lamb is doing literally everything wrong. He's holding onto a headlock in bottom side control and turning away from the guy. So Trojan Horse steps over. He opts for moving into half guard. Well, now he's at full mount. Lamb has done nothing. And there it is. He was out. And if you listen to the corner, this is why I think what's his face? Battle Pony kind of knows what he's doing, because his corner is actually yelling good advice. They yell right before this happens. They yell.
Now you go, Dallas. There you go.
Posture.
Hands on him, not the ground.
Hands on him, not the ground. Hands on him, not the ground. That's real advice. And this guy's underwear here says his over underwear. His overwear here says pro combat or combat pro. So obviously he knows what he's doing. He's just had his way. The Lamb has not done anything right. And then if we look here, and he's definitely out. He gets up here. He gets up here and he's like, WTF, mate. And the Lamb is like, let's see what the Lamb has to say, because the Lamb is like, I don't know.
I mean, it was fun. I'm just trying to do something new. You feel me?
That's where it went. So.
It was fun. I'm just trying to do something new, you feel me? This guy has some kind of nipple over here on his bicep. Is that a burn? Looks like a nipple.
And that's where it went, so better luck next time, I guess. See what we learn.
I love Horse Meat Killer's like ending line there, you know, that's the way it goes. Better luck next time, see what we learned. And what did we learn? He did just about everything right. And the Lamb did almost everything wrong. From eating the initial head kick from that weird stance, and then even when he threw his flurry and finished with the kick, he kicked straight on at the guy's shin, and then switched from one bad headlock from bottom side control to the other bad headlock from bottom side control. Allowed the, you know, the God of War to easily pass over to mount, and then knocked him out from bottom. So what did we learn? I don't know. Like, it's almost always a bad idea. I wonder if you didn't know, like you didn't know ways out of bottom mount, if you didn't have any experience or training in dealing with that. I don't know. I'm actually asking. Comment below. What do you think? And you might think, oh, it's a fluke, like stuff happens. But what if, like, just a few minutes later, the Lamb fought another guy who knew what he was doing, a guy that's a pretty decent fighter, does everything right, the Lamb does everything wrong, and still knocks the guy out. This is also an aside. When people think about street beefs, they think like, especially people with training, they think, oh, I'll go in there and just wreck any of these dudes. But I can tell you, I promise, when you get there, it's not as easy as you think it's gonna be. Part of it's the stress, part of it's the terrain, part of it's the often unpredictable nature of your opponents. But here we are again. This is the Lamb, and this is the same day. This is from the same event. It's consecutive videos if you go to the Street Beefs channel, which I'll link down in the description below.
Yeah, what's my current record? 1-0. So yeah, see how this goes.
Red X.
He said, I'll see how this goes. And now we got Red X.
This is my first fight. Hoping it's gonna go really well. Watched a bunch of YouTube, sparred with some friends, and we'll see how we do.
I watched a bunch of YouTube and spar with some friends. Now, Red X is just like my friend Blackie Chan, who apparently just learned to fight by watching YouTube, and is yet another example of, he actually looks pretty good once this fight starts. Obviously, he's dealing with inexperience, but like from a technical standpoint, he does a lot of really good stuff. And the Lamb does a lot of, you know, Lamb stuff. Lord Bestaban's always yelling. He's a YouTuber. Red X and Lamb both seem like very nice guys. They're just like, oh, we're just gonna see. I just would like to test myself in a fight. You know? That's crazy. That's one of the testaments to why Street Beefs is so cool, because it's giving people a platform to just like you'd think that would be crazy, and it would be, and there's probably lots of people that feel that way, and now there's finally a place for them to all go and fight each other in a friendly environment. And again, what? And he eats a punch. He does some crazy thing and eats a punch. And I don't really know what they're... Oh, I think it was a low blow maybe. I missed it if it was. The stance, not a back, he leads with a back fist. And gets lifted, dumped. Red X frames. And here he is just swinging wildly from the bottom. Red X with hands on the biceps, on the shoulders, hands on him, top, half guard. And Red X is doing literally, moves over to mount easily and raining down punches. He's actually in a similar situation to, you know, when the Lamb fought Dog Pound Records in the first fight. And he actually is not falling for the same thing. He's not going to get him. Lamb, you're not going to get Red X with the same thing. Red X just saw you do that. You're not going to do it to him. Ground and pound, reaching. Red X gets dumped. He could have cross-faced there. It looked like he started to, but Red X is controlling posture. He's got his arm across. Look, he's pushing on that. So Red X says he learned from YouTube, but it looks to me, look, he's not flat. He's bladed. Now he's fighting with the arms, but here you can see, let's see if we get a better, yeah, here you can see this this armbar here. So Red X is doing like lots of stuff that's like close to right. It's very clear that he's trained pretty hard. I think when people say, oh, the guy watched a couple YouTube videos, he's not gonna know what he's doing, and they see this and like, see, he doesn't know what he's doing. This guy is doing way better than anyone else who would tell you that they just saw some videos on YouTube. But you know, the elbows passed, he doesn't have it. He knows that this is a thing that he should be doing, but he just doesn't have the experience to finish this. But largely, Red X is doing great stuff, especially for someone with no formal training. Now, the lamb should be out. Oh my goodness, like only in Street Beefs is that the way that things are done. Like only the lamb and only at Street Beefs. Which, wait, no, I take that back. That's definitely a Charles Bennett style move. That's a Charles Bennett way, a school of submission defense. But now the lamb has his opportunity to lay down some ground and pound, and let's see what he does. He positions himself back in front of his opponent's legs. He ignores the up kicks. He stands there. He's like, I don't know what to do. What? No? Yes? Wow. What? He doesn't. He literally has no clue what to do. And Red X does a great job using his legs and his hands to tie up the lamb and get this guard going. He's got him in position for a triangle, and he's looking for the arm. Again, like Red X is savvy enough to realize that he can fight from his back. He's had some practice, I can tell, doing this. He just doesn't have the finishing mechanics. He's not selected, in my opinion, the correct submission or the correct orientation of himself. But he is fighting, and he's doing a far more technical job of fighting than the lamb is doing. Which is what matters, right? Technique. Technique matters. The lamb... The lamb rams himself. He's like, this is the lamb school of thought. I'll ram myself into this. Oh. And Red X finishes on top. Mounted triangle position. Here we are, the second round. Now what on earth is this position? Red X with a good neutral stance. Legs split evenly. This hand's maybe a little low, but look where his opponent is. And this hand this is great. This is great. This means I'm about to do something crazy. This is where Red X, I think, failed. This posture, even from a trained fighter, means something is about to go down. Yikes. Kind of crazy, right? Both Red X and the Road Dogg Jesse James fought pretty well. They made some errors. They made errors commensurate with people making their amateur debut. That's one of the things people often criticize Street Beefs, and obviously I'm going to be a little partial to it. Street Beefs events are more organized and better run than most sanctioned MMA events. But these guys, all of them, and they all deserve respect for stepping in to this arena to fight, both for their own personal honor and glory and for our entertainment. But you know, you got two guys that clearly have some training and some practice and have put some time in to learning how to do this stuff. And then one guy who just does everything wrong. And the question that we have to figure out is, was he successful because of attributes, because he's strong, fast, and obviously hits hard? Was he successful because he's like, you know, just about that life? Like, you know, he's got that thing in his brain that just wills him to do combat and to not, you know, turtle up and curl up into a ball like most of us would do in these scenarios? Is it because these guys he fought knew what the correct thing to do was, and because he did not do that, he subverted their expectations, throwing them off and catching them by surprise? Like, what is it about the Lamb that made him successful in two back-to-back fights with two opponents who did know what they were doing? It's interesting to me. I think that this is more interesting than the first few fights on the main card of a pay-per-view. You know, the main event and the co-main usually interest me. I love the prelims. I think aspiring fighters and coaches should be watching the prelims of say, UFC cards so you can know what it is that you're supposed to be working on. And I think that the lay person or the hobbyist martial artist should spend some time watching this stuff because it's just fascinating. And I think it's more indicative of how people really fight. How they really fight in real life, not how they would talk about how they fight in the comment section of Streetbeefs videos and, of course, these videos. I'm really curious what the general consensus from the Hard to Hurt viewers are about this scenario. Like, is there something to be said for being wild and unpredictable? Should it be something that you use occasionally? Because this guy has just made basically a career out of it. You know, every minute that he's been in a fight he was doing everything wrong, and he has won 2 fights by knockout in spectacular fashion against guys who I think are pretty good fighters. Oh, and before you just say that, oh, this was all part of Lamb's master plan, he's actually a martial arts master, here's his thoughts on the whole thing.
He was a great fighter, way stronger than I thought he'd be. He was cracking me. I just got lucky with my creativity, that's all. He was great.